Throughout history, there have been many conquerors who have risen to power and built vast empires through their military prowess. However, few of them have been as ruthless and feared as Timur, also known as Timur the Lame. Timur's name has become synonymous with brutality, and his legacy continues to fascinate and terrify people even today. In this episode, we will explore the life and times of this legendary conqueror and delve into the horrific ways in which he became one of the most feared men of his time. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will discuss how Timur became so brutal. But before we begin, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Also, be sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Let's get started. Timur was born in 1336 in the small Central Asian city of Kesh, which is now known as Shahrisabz in Uzbekistan. Despite his humble beginnings, Timur would go on to conquer vast territories from China to the Black Sea, leaving behind a legacy of blood and fire. His empire, which came to be known as the Timurid Empire, lasted for over 2 centuries and had a profound impact on the course of history. As a young man, Timur displayed remarkable skills as a warrior and strategist, leading his nomadic Mongol tribe to victory against their rivals. He was known for his brilliant military tactics and his ability to inspire fear in his enemies. However, what truly set Timur apart was his complete disregard for human life. He was willing to do whatever it took to achieve his goals, no matter how ruthless or cruel it may seem. One of the most horrific examples of Timur's brutality was his treatment of the citizens of the cities he conquered. He was particularly fond of torturing his captives, and he would often have them put to death in the most gruesome and imaginative ways. For example, during his siege of the Indian city of Delhi in 1398, Timur ordered that all the Hindus be converted to Islam at the point of a sword. Those who refused were put to death, and their heads were cut off and hung from the minarets of the mosques. Another example of Timur's sadism was his use of catapults. He would have them hurl skulls and corpses over the city walls, infecting the defenders with diseases and tainting their water supply. In fact, during the siege of Delhi, Timur's army reportedly flung some 200,000 human skulls into the city. And if this doesn't sound terrifying enough, it gets worse. After Delhi fell, Timur ordered that all the Hindu holy books be burned and replaced with copies of the Quran. Anyone found with a Hindu scripture was put to death. To make matters even more horrifying, Timur's soldiers would often flay prisoners alive, forcing them to drink their own blood or eat their own entrails. This was done not only to inflict physical pain, but also to break their spirits and humiliate them in front of their fellow citizens. Such acts of cruelty were not isolated incidents. They were part of a deliberate policy aimed at breaking the resistance of the conquered cities and instilling terror in the hearts of those who defied him. One can only imagine the psychological trauma experienced by the survivors of these attacks as they witnessed their friends and families being slaughtered and mutilated. The very sight of skulls and corpses raining down on the city must have been enough to make anyone's blood run cold. Yet despite this, Timur's brutality knew no bounds. He would often order entire villages to be wiped out, sparing neither women nor children. During his campaign in Azerbaijan in 1395, Timur reportedly massacred between 17,000 and 20,000 people in the city of Tabriz. He also ordered the killings of several thousand people in the city of Baghdad in 1395, and the sack of Isfahan in 1387 resulted in the deaths of an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 people. These atrocities were not committed by a deranged individual, but by a man who was considered a hero by his followers. He was celebrated as a great conqueror, and his deeds were recorded in detail in the Shahnameh, a book considered to be the national epic of Greater Iran. It is ironic that a man who inflicted so much suffering could be revered in such a way. But this just goes to show the lengths to which propaganda can go to glorify a tyrant. But what was it about Timur's psyche that made him so obsessed with cruelty and power? His rise to power was not easy. He suffered from a serious illness as a child, which left him lame, and was initially looked down upon by other members of his tribe. However, he turned this setback into his strength, and used it to motivate himself to succeed. From a young age, he was drawn to the teachings of Genghis Khan, the legendary founder of the Mongol Empire, and he studied his military strategies and tactics carefully. Believed that he was destined to follow in the footsteps of Genghis Khan and create his own vast empire. This obsession with power led him to do whatever it took to achieve his goals, even if it meant resorting to extreme measures. He was willing to sacrifice anyone, including his own family members, to achieve his objectives. When Timur seized the throne of the Chagatai Khanate, he had his own grandfather, a former Khan, put to death, along with several other members of his family. Another factor that contributed to Timur's brutality was the environment in which he grew up. He lived in a time when warfare was brutal, and there was little regard for human life. As a young man, he witnessed firsthand the horrors of war, and it seems to have desensitized him to violence. He was also influenced by the religious beliefs of his time, which glorified conquest and subjugation of other peoples. Timur was a devout Muslim, and he believed that he had been chosen by God to punish non-believers. This belief, coupled with his desire for power and his warped sense of justice, led him to commit atrocities that shocked even his contemporaries. One of the most infamous examples of Timur's cruelty was his treatment of the city of Yatsu, Isfahan, in 1387. He had heard that the city's governor had insulted him, and as punishment, he decided to lay siege to the city. What followed was a massacre that has become a thing of legend. Timur's soldiers entered the city and began slaughtering the inhabitants without mercy. They killed men, women, and children, sparing none. Houses were burned and looted, and valuable artifacts were taken back to his capital. The streets ran red with blood, and the stench of death filled the air. Even after the city fell, Timur's brutality did not stop. He ordered that all the books in the city's library be burned, destroying countless works of art and literature in the process. He also demolished the city's mosques and desecrated its holy sites. It was a blatant display of power and a warning to other cities that dared defy him. Today, historians and experts continue to debate the true extent of Timur's brutality. Some argue that his record has been exaggerated by his enemies, and that he was not as merciless as he is made out to be. However, there is ample evidence to support the claim that Timur was indeed a ruthless conqueror. His actions have left an indelible mark on history, and he remains one of the most feared and controversial figures of all time. One of the reasons for Timur's enduring legacy is the lack of documentation from the time period. Many of our current accounts of his reign are based on the writings of his chroniclers, who often had a vested interest in portraying him in a favorable light. This has led to some debate regarding the accuracy of these accounts, and whether they may have exaggerated or fabricated certain aspects of Timur's reign. However, despite the lack of concrete evidence, the stories of Timur's brutality have stood the test of time, and have become part of popular culture. His name has become synonymous with cruelty, and his tactics are still studied by military strategists around the world. While it is important to approach historical accounts with a critical eye and to consider the possibility of bias or exaggeration, it is also important to acknowledge the horrific nature of Timur's reign. The stories of his conquests and atrocities may be shrouded in mystery and legend, but the impact of his actions on the people of his time cannot be denied. Timur's legacy serves as a reminder of the darkness that can exist in the human heart and the lengths to which a person will go in pursuit of power and glory. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button and share it with your friends and family. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.